So that's what Madoff really was all about. Another matter today, we saw unemployment figures come in. And I've got to tell you again, and for those of you who are new listeners, there's 3 unemployment reports. One is the current unemployment report, which rose from 9.4 to 9.5% today, officially. There's the U3, which is people who have been out of work since 1990, which is now 19 years, 18 and a half. And that figure I won't even go into, but it's around 25%. But the real important figure is U6. In U6 is that short-term unemployment they're calling 9.5%. It also includes those who are no longer working full-time but are working 25 or 30 hours a week. It includes those who no longer collect state unemployment checks and those who are discouraged and say, gee, there's no jobs out there. What the heck is the sense of me looking? And so here we have the U6 figure. Now get this. This is the real unemployment figure. Officially, 16.5%. Now, there's a thing that they use that they implanted into these figures. It's called the birth-death ratio. And what it really is the Bureau of Labor Statistics guesses at how many jobs were created by small and medium-sized businesses because they don't have the money and manpower to check all businesses. So they guess at it. And it is whatever they say it is. So with our experience, we know that it's not 16.5% because if you add in or strip out the birth-death ratio, the figure is 20.5%. That's what the figure is. So we have unemployment in America, 14.7 million people, of 20.5%. And that includes all those layovers from the past administration. In fact, we lost in 8 years of the 2 previous administrations 5 million jobs alone to free trade, globalization, offshoring, and outsourcing. So you can see what a deleterious effect that has had on unemployment in America. And I'm projecting, and did at the beginning of the year, for this year, on the real U6 of 22% unemployment. I now think it'll probably be higher, but it'll be at least 22%. Next year, unemployment should probably range between 22 and 28% because of the stimulus package hitting. Most of the stimulus will hit next year. It's an election year, and that's why they did it that way. And so instead of having a minus 6.3 or 5.5 or minus 4%, next year we'll probably have, during the third quarter of next year, which is through the summer, we will probably have something on the order of GDP even, not minus, not plus, but even, because of the stimuli that's being entered into the system. After that, they either have to do one or two things, and that would start just before the election. They either create another stimulus package, which I believe they will, and I think the figure will be around $2 trillion to keep the pot boiling, to ward off complete deflationary collapse. And that's what's coming next. You know, the Treasury and the Federal Reserve had created new debt in the form of $14.8 trillion. staggering figure. The Fed is going to monetize between now and the end of September $3 trillion worth of U.S. Treasuries, U.S. agencies like Fannie and Freddie, and also they're going to be buying toxic garbage from banks, which is bonds with mortgages inside them. $3 trillion, which is a colossal figure. What monetization means is that the Federal Reserve, which is a private corporation, creates money out of thin air to do that. And when you monetize by doing that, creating money out of thin air, it's immediately inflationary. Now, granted, in the case of banks, what the banks are doing with the money that they receive for the garbage they've got, and the Fed won't tell you what they're paying for it, incidentally. That's why we need to investigate the Fed. Ron Paul's H.R. 1207. Because they're taking the money, the banks, and they're keeping it on the balance sheet. And they're doing it in the form of buying U.S. Treasuries. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. We hear you. I'm getting the feedback. I don't know where it's coming from.
I'm getting music.
You're getting music. I'm not, I don't know what's going on right now.
Well, I'll keep on talking, and hopefully people can hear me. I went to look at my watch. I thought it was half the hour already.
No, we're not playing any music at all. Bobby's telling me we're not playing any music whatsoever.
Well, so maybe I've gone insane.
Yeah, no, there's something. All of a sudden, something came in, and it's like a feedback in my ears. I don't hear any music, but I hear a feedback.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, it's gone now. So, in this monetization process, they're keeping the bank solvent by lending money to them that previously didn't exist. And the bank is not lending that money except to the Treasury, because the Treasury is short at least $1 trillion in revenue to pay for the cost that they're incurring. And so that's why the Treasury is asking the Fed to buy U.S. Treasury bonds and notes and bills, because they got a serious problem. And that problem is going to get worse, because as the depression deepens, we're going to lose more jobs. More people are going to lose more homes. The inventory is going to continue to rise. And a good part of the losses of mortgages are going to be among prime mortgage holders, because there's a lot of people who are losing their jobs at high levels. I mean, you look at New York City, the real estate dropped, I think, 25% last month. Of course, it hadn't come down much previously. And apartment and co-op sales are down 50%. And it's all bad. But a lot of these people who have lost their jobs in New York are making between $500,000 and $20 million a year. So, and they usually lived right up to that level, so to speak. And many of them are going bankrupt. And so this situation will continue to deteriorate. But those are two of the things that I talked to on the 5 previous programs I was on today.
You've done 5 shows today already?
I got one more tonight.
Oh, my Lord. And people they tell me that I work long days.
Well, I get up at 3:30, and I usually fade at 9.
I understand. Do you hear the hum in the background?
Yes.
Okay. It came out of nowhere. Evidently, the thugs are trying to do something. Doug, would you see what you can do to help Bobby? She's telling me that everything is fine at her end. Maybe it's coming out of Europe. I have Betty from California wanted to ask a question. I'm going to look for it again. I think it has something to do. Oh yeah, here it is. Eisenhower was the last big spender on the infrastructure of America, and having spent 12% of the federal dollars when he left office, and yet no president since has spent that kind of money on the infrastructure. My question is spending money on the infrastructure of the United States really the way to put real money and real jobs to work?